It's that time again for you to travel with us into the further regions of experience. We are your guides, modern-day bards, historians, investigators, reporters, warrior poets. Journey with us as we together unlock the mysteries of our very world. We would like to welcome you to The Reckoning Hour with your hosts Johnny Reed, Wayne Weissenat, Max DeVille, and Emmanuel Jimenez. Legendary actress Dee Wallace has one of the most enviable entertainment careers in film and in TV movies, which of course includes classics such as E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, CUJO, 10, and The Howling. She has recently earned her 200th movie credit, having just wrapped production on Await the Dawn, as well as the upcoming releases of Critters Attack, Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell, and the family film Renovation of the Heart. Wallace is now the only living actress with 200 movie credits.
I'm really excited for our next guest. She's one of my all-time favorite actresses, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dee Wallace.
Yay.
How are you?
I'm great.
How are things with you?
Things are busy with me, very busy. I just finished teaching a huge healing program on health and wellness. And then I went off to do a film, and now I'm back, and now I just booked a TV show for next week. So life is like I like it, very busy.
Nice. That is good. So you just did, just for everyone to know, you are from Kansas City, local to us, where we're from too.
Kansas City, Kansas, baby.
Kansas City,
Wyandotte
Kansas.
County.
Wyandotte. So you're from the dot. So you're street smart.
You bet. You bet, babe. Graduated from Wyandotte, taught at Washington, graduated KU.
No, do you get back here very often?
You know, of course not this year.
Right.
Usually I get back a couple of times a year, but my younger brother passed away a year ago, and my mommy and daddy and grandparents are all gone now. I do have a lot of friends there that I come back to see, and a fabulous sister-in-law that I love to death. So a couple of times a year, I try and get back for at least a long weekend or a week, visit with all my friends.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So since we're starting at the beginning, I like to do a little thing. Fact or fiction based on your Wikipedia. So it says that you began your career appearing on television shows of The Streets of San Francisco, Starsky and Hutch, and Policewoman.
Yes, actually, my very first role was on Lucas Tanner. And you know how I got it? I did what all good girls in Kansas are taught to do. When they want to meet somebody, you bake cookies and you take them to their house. So I baked bunches and bunches of chocolate chip cookies and wrapped them up with cellophane and took them to Universal. And I said to the guard, "Hi, I've got deliveries." He said, "Okay, go on through," because it was impossible to get onto the lot.
Nice.
Right? And when I was there delivering them to Reuben Cannon, who was the head of casting, he got a call that the girl who was supposed to play the waitress, who had 6 lines with the star, was sick. And Reuben looked at me and he said, "What size do you wear?" I said, "What size do you need, honey?"
Nice.
And I stuffed my size 6 into that little 4 costume, and off we went. And that was my first film job in LA.
All right.
Oh, that is excellent.
Well, it's good that the Midwestern values is what got you in the door at the studio.
Oh, my Midwestern values, I believe, are what are responsible for me getting everywhere in my life. My mother taught me integrity, truthfulness, to always come from love, to always believe in myself. And I write in my book, Bright Light, that I'm a big believer in naivete, because I was even though I graduated KU and taught a year of high school, I was pretty Kansas naive. And I just thought, well, I'm going to go to New York and be a movie star. And it never occurred to me that I might not do that.
Well,
And
hey, it all worked out anyways.
it all worked out, baby. And I'm happy to say, after 45 years, I do not feel like I have ever compromised who I am to do what I do.
That's good. I mean, I don't think a lot of people can say that.
Yeah, it feels pretty good in my business.
Yeah. So, sticking with the TV, you've done a billion television shows. I mean, you've done a million movies too. You've just got an epic career. But just a couple questions. I see here that you did some things like The New Lassie, Twilight Zone, Murder She Wrote, Grey's Anatomy, My Name is Earl, and The Office. So I wanted to know how much different it is working with a 3-camera setup than it is using like My Name is Earl or The Office where they use 1 camera.
Oh, it's totally different. It's actually a lot of fun because you don't have to break things up so much. You don't have to do so many takes because you've got 3 cameras rolling and covering people. And yeah, I've had 2 sitcoms on the air, and I really love working with 3 cameras, and I really love working with a lot of steady cams too.
The guy who can't be here today, one of our hosts, Wayne, he's really into Steadicam work. He likes Dean Kundi's stuff a lot.
Yeah. And, I do a lot of work with Rob Zombie, and he's real big on Steadicams.
Steadicams, yep. And that segues into the movies, which was I was going to let Johnny cover the movies because he's definitely a Dee Wallace fan when it comes to your films.
All right, Johnny, let's see how big a fan you are.
Oh, yeah. Now you're going to put me on the spot.
I've got to.
Well, I know that you have a couple of movies coming out, and I like how you mix it up where it's not just all horror. Because I think you have the Renovation of the Heart coming out as well.
I do. Yeah, that we did in Kansas City. And then I have a Await the Dawn that is a combination horror sci-fi movie. It's a really interesting script that combines the 2 things.
Are you able to tell us a little bit about it, or is that kind of under lock and key yet?
No, it's about a family that is on a road trip to help one of my daughters who is suffering from drug addiction. And so there's a bunch of us in a trailer in a big motorhome. We get trapped, and that's about all I can give away. My daughter, Gabrielle Stone, is also in the movie with me, and a lot of really, really fine actors. I know that they've made some deals, but I can't tell you what studio. I haven't gotten all the specifics. And then there's another horror film called The Bewailing, and another horror film called 13 Fanboy, which is very big. It's got a lot of hype on the internet right now. And but all of these we finished right before COVID. And so now we're just waiting to see where we can bring them out.
Kind of in that holding pattern right now to see when everything will be released.
Yeah.
Well, have you done any work since the pandemic actually started? Because I've been reading a lot, and it seems like there's just like a whole mess of new precautions that everybody's having to do on the set just to keep everyone healthy.
Yeah, the movie I just returned from, we shot in Louisiana, and they had a whole compound that was locked off, and nobody came in or out if you weren't on the crew or the production team or you were an actor, and everybody got tested every 3 days. Everybody on the set had to wear a mask.
How do you think that affects method actors though?
Well, I am a method actor. And
exactly. So that's what I mean. You can't really get into character if you're wearing a mask and staying 6 feet apart from everyone all the time.
Well, all of my scenes were in a car with my co-star.
Oh, okay.
So obviously you can't shoot with a mask on, but you rehearse with the mask and talk to your director with a mask. And it's really kind of the same principle as working with a green screen. You kind of have to forget it's there, and you have to see what you see, and you have to do the job that you have to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
I just figured it'd be harder to get into the headspace of the character if you have to keep breaking and wearing a mask and taking all these precautions.
you know, I didn't really find that to be true. Now that you mention it, that makes sense. But on the film that I just did, I don't know, it just didn't bother me that much.
Well, that's good. I'm
Yeah,
glad to hear it. I was
think,
hoping that performances wouldn't suffer because of it.
after you work with kids and dogs as much as I have, you're kind of used to jumping into whatever moment you need to jump into.
Yeah.
I just need it quiet on the set for just a few seconds so that I can get centered and really get my energy up. And then I'm pretty okay to go.
Sounds good. I'm glad to hear that.
Now, you mentioned, working with kids and dogs. Now, of course, one of your most famous movies, E.T. Do you still keep in touch with any of your fellow stars from that? And,
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see the boys quite a bit. We do the convention circuit together.
that's got to be kind of cool seeing them all kind of coming in their own. Because I know Mr. Thomas, I mean, he's now doing the Netflix original.
Yeah.
So
Henry works a lot. Robert is not in the industry anymore, but it's great to see both of them. Of course, they're both taller than I am now. But we, often share stories from the set and go out to dinner together at the conventions. And yeah, it's nice to have them in my life. And Danny too, Danny Pintaro from CUJO. I see him.
I was getting ready to bring it up. You said children, and now it's going to go to dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I, again, have been very blessed to have great kids to work with and amazing trainers. I mean, Carl Miller had those dogs trained on CUJO within an inch of their lives. There were 13 dogs we used, plus the guy in the dog suit. Now, the real dogs did almost every shot in the movie, and they were all trained to go after toys. So for all of you animal lovers out there, I want you to know the dogs were taken incredibly well care of, better than me. Okay. They could alternate the dogs. There was only one of me.
Exactly. Your mental health. I mean, just sitting there being terrorized.
Well, I'm telling you, emotionally and physically, it was definitely the hardest things I've ever done. Yeah.
Even harder than The Hills Have Eyes?
Well, The Hills Have Eyes was a challenge also, but I would say physically not anywhere close to CUJO. I've never done anything physically as demanding as CUJO, with all the flying and stuff that we had to do. CUJO was relentless, guys. It was 8 or 9 weeks of just how much do I break down? Which way do I break down? And your brain doesn't understand your acting.
Yeah,
so
I was going
your brain and your body goes through the same chemistry as it does when you're really in fight or flight. So I blew out my adrenals. They had to treat me for exhaustion afterwards. It was tough. I was
going to say,
how do you? My favorite film.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites too, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that one for me, it's that and the Howling. I've always had a special spot in my heart for the Howling.
I'm a werewolf junkie, so the Howling is one of the things that got me started.
Well, I'm glad to be one of the sources of your demise. Yeah, The Howling is a really fun film, and boy, does it hold up.
It really
yeah.
does. My son just recently is turning 17, and this was the year that we're like, okay, we're going to start letting you see some of the, horror movies that he's been asking us since he was 5. And that was one of them, was the Howling. And it was like, this really holds up to what we're seeing today. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It was way before its time.
It was way before its time. And Dan Blatt, our fabulous executive producer, God love him, just was brilliant in bringing together a lot of new, exciting, really good talent, but in front of the camera and behind the camera. And we were just lucky because it really was very low budget. I mean, compared to American Werewolf in London, I think they had over 10 million. We had barely 1. And Rob Bottin and his special effects, he was on that set every moment that the werewolves worked, and watched the lighting and how to spray them down. And this angle's gonna be better. And that's what I mean. You just had so many beginning professionals that really took so seriously what they were doing, and wanted to do the best that they could do.
So that's one of the,
it shows on screen.
yeah, that's one of the great things. I mean, when you take a movie like The Howling that might have had a $1 million budget compared to American Werewolf in London, the people that are on that smaller budget film have to be much, much more creative with how they spend money and what they're doing. And when they can still come up with something that looks just as good or better, that's always what impresses me the
You
most.
bet. Hey,
Yeah.
I'll give you a wonderful story. It was the last night we were on the ranch, and we couldn't get on anymore. And it was like 2 a.m. in the morning, and we had to get this big establishing scene of the barn. And me and I think Chris and somebody else were out in front. We lost the generators. We lost all our power.
It's no light.
And so what we did was everybody got in their cars and pulled their cars up and turned their headlights on. And that's how we lit the scene.
Oh, wow.
Pretty
Nice.
innovative, huh?
That's on point there. That's Rebel Without a Crew stuff.
Yeah.
Now, you say are you still doing a lot of the teaching then?
I'm not teaching acting, no, but I teach every day in my healing work. Yeah.
That's what I was meaning. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're doing a lot of self-help things about the center of self or something, right?
Well, I teach people about energy and how to work with and direct energy, and to take responsibility for their own lives, not to keep blaming mom and dad or the ex-husband, or whatever we blame the reasons that we say we can't do something. That's not ever going to get you doing it, guys. You got to go, okay, that happened. That's part of my story, but I'm not going to let my story define me anymore. I'm going to write the story I want now.
As
well,
you
that's
should.
making your own life, your own narrative.
Absolutely, but most of us don't.
No, they find it a lot easier to point fingers or place blame, and just saying, hey, it's a learning experience. Take that experience, and it's what you do. For me, it's always, what do you do with that experience?
That's right. Do you know that all the top scientists have proven now that 93% of what we thought were genetic is actually what's happened to us in our life and the narrative we keep telling ourselves about it.
No, I totally believe that.
But they also have proven that if you hold the state of love for yourself, you literally can heal and create new DNA and all the telomeres, which is the end of the DNA, the power, the strength of the DNA. The force of love is the greatest creative force we have on earth. And we all think of it as this namby-pamby little thing that, oh gosh, wouldn't it be nice if I could fall in love? you can call on love. You can take yourself into love every single moment of your life. And Bruce Lipton, who is a really renowned scientist in this area, he says it so plainly. He says, if you live in love, your body lives in health. If you live in anger and judgment and hate, your body will create disease. So I don't know how much, I wouldn't need any more than that. Would you guys?
No, not at all. I mean, I totally agree with that too, because no one really knows the true power of the mind. I mean, they say we only use like 10% of it. And it's one of those, talking about the positive and the love. It's going to sound cheesy, but I was talking to my daughter the other day. She was watching Frozen. And I said it was such an innovative movie for Disney, because like at the end of it, it wasn't the prince and the princess, it was the love of the two sisters. Yeah. And for me, I thought that was really, it was a great statement, because it doesn't always have to be a girl or a boy or a prince and a princess. It's just about taking the essence of love and how much power is actually wrapped up in that.
That's right. And even more importantly in that movie, they talked about self-love.
Yes.
Because most of us are taught not to love ourselves.
Yeah,
we're taught
there's always something attacking you go to the grocery store and you stand in line and you see the magazines, and they're assaulting you with, you should look better, you should do this, you should be doing these things, here's 10 ways to do this, and you should be doing this, and look what these people are doing.
Yeah, but let's go back to when we're 2, 3, 4, 5. What are we taught? Johnny wants your toy, give it to Johnny. But mommy, I want to give it to Johnny. You have to share. You have to give away what you want, right? Yeah. Now, right. I'm not saying, obviously, that we shouldn't teach our kids
to share.
Right.
But I'm also saying, at least in the church I was raised, which was a Methodist church in Kansas City, even in the Methodist church, self-love was looked down upon, because God doesn't love you if you're too full of yourself. And people will judge you if you think you're great. I remember, and I talk about this in my book, Bright Light, coming back from a recital. And I had worked so hard. It was my first little solo. And I was sitting in the back seat, and my aunt was in the passenger seat in the front, and my mom was driving, and I was reliving it, and I burst out, oh, I was good, wasn't I? I was really good, with all this joy. And my aunt turned around and pointed her finger at me, and she said, Deanna Bowers, you never say you're good. And if somebody else says how good you are, you say, no, I'm not. Man, and that's really, in one way or another, whether we're taught it verbally or through modeling and watching other people, that's what most of us pick up. And I want your listeners to hear this fact, especially your listeners that have kids. How we see ourselves, how we see the world, and how we see the world seeing us, which all affects how much we love each other and our self-esteem and our self-worth, is totally locked into your brain by 8 years old. Now that's pretty staggering.
Yeah,
it is.
That's from 8. That's it.
8 years old, conception to 8 years old. Because
I have heard
that even in the womb, you are picking up energy from both your parents.
Yep. I do. So, I have read a study on that.
If you're an adult and you keep hitting the same walls and you can't figure out why, you can't create a different pattern in your life, go back and see what you were taught or modeled in your formative years. And you will get a lot of insights about how to break free from your invisible walls. I actually have a great TED Talk on YouTube.
I was gonna bring it up about the common ground of self.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very insightful.
But you are right, because I mean, so oftentimes when we're younger, we are taught, not to be prideful. It's a deadly sin. You shouldn't be prideful. But by the same token, if you're not happy with yourself and you don't learn to be happy with yourself, how can you ever extend that to be happy and love others?
Absolutely.
That's,
The more you love you, the more love you have to share.
See, I was real fortunate. I was raised pretty much by my grandparents and my mom, and we were always taught to accept everyone. Don't judge. You shouldn't judge people. It wasn't our place to judge. You're supposed to accept people.
I was raised Catholic, and I was supposed to feel guilty all the time.
Oh, dear God. God bless you, honey. God bless. I have a lot of recovering Catholics in my practice if you want to come join us.
I might.
But, that's why I did as much press in Kansas City and around Kansas as I could about voting for love. Because
Yes.
what I see going on in my hometown does not make me proud.
No, I mean.
Well, it's not even the hometown. I hate to say it. It's kind of the whole state or
It's the
United
Midwest.
States. Well, in the United
Midwest
States
and
as a
the
whole.
South, and yeah, I mean, we're saying here we are, God-fearing people, while we're judging each other, hating each other, riling against each other, calling each other names, locking each other up. I don't get it. This was not what I was taught in my growing up in the Midwest.
I think a lot of it is also just even a respect. I mean, I don't want to
Yes.
get political, but I mean, like, even like when you watch the debates, it's like we have two people running for office that aren't even showing respect for that office.
I would disagree with that.
Well, I mean to the point that how rude everyone is to each other.
Well, okay. Do you want to get political or not?
We can. I mean, I don't mind. I don't know how you wanted to go. For me, it was just one of those when I just see so many people tearing each other up instead of trying to help lift them up.
I'm telling you one thing, that I was on the debate team.
Uh-huh.
And the first rule you learned was that you never interrupt your opponent.
Oh no! So give them the rope to hang themselves with.
But possible if it literally was impossible to debate.
Yeah, I watched the first one, and it was nothing but crosstalk, and I just quit watching.
It turned me off. It disgusted me. I'm trying to find an understanding other than the economy. And I had a person in my family say to me, I'll never vote Democrat because it affects how much money I make. And I said to him, and what's affecting your consciousness?
Yeah.
Have we gotten to where we have to give up our consciousness in order to do well? That's not a belief I will ever own, ever.
No, I've never been a real greedy person. I'm always there to help other people. I like to do it personally too. I don't like to just like give my money to charity and say, okay, well, I donated some money to the United Way, so everything's getting done fine. I like to be the ones that go down there and actually help feed the people or bring them coats or,
Well, I love you, Max.
I think that's why Max and I and some of us get along so well and started the show. Like for me, one of my side jobs is I work for a non-for-profit Play to Beat Brain Cancer, where we're going out and we're trying to offset medical bills for a lot of these families.
Oh, bless you. My mommy built the Cancer Action Society from about 5 volunteers to over 500.
I did not know that.
Yes. She was the executive secretary for the Cancer Society pretty much my entire childhood until she retired. So I'm a big supporter of Cancer Action. I participate and participate financially however I can. So that's an issue close to my heart. If there's any way I can help, I'm in.
We'll have to sideline that part for a conversation later on, but yeah, absolutely, because I'm real passionate about, well, helping people anyway, but especially when it comes to the cancer organizations, I don't think we're doing enough as a society to help it. I mean, there's a lot being done. I think there's a lot being done, but it's one of those where, man, I just wish we could do something just to cure it.
Well, and we can. Do you know what? According to the information I have that I put together, the source of cancer is anger.
I've actually
So
heard
again,
that.
back to Bruce Lipton, if you hold yourself in the state of love and compassion for yourself, your body mirrors that.
Yeah, I was reading something that he wrote about the cell and how love affects the cells in the body.
Yeah.
I did my research.
You did. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
They literally have proven this scientifically.
So do you see in relation with the spike in a lot of the cancer cases, it seems like there's a lot more now, and the negativity that's kind of surrounding?
Absolutely. And do you know what I was told was the energetic source of COVID? I have no control. And how many people in this world feel like they do not have control over their own destiny?
Almost everyone.
I don't have control over my health. I don't have control over my money. I don't, and so we've created this disease that took almost all of the known ways of existing day to day away from us so that we could go, well, dang, I guess I have to create something else a different way. And the creativity that has come out of this period is pretty awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
We've definitely had some pretty good creative works coming out of the last. I mean, everyone says 2020 hasn't really been that great because, I mean, there has been a lot of bad things that have happened, but I've seen some of the most creative stuff being done online. Now, there's some of the online art installations that have popped up over last year. It is amazing.
It is amazing. And I mean, don't you love the stories like the guy who went out on his balcony in Italy to play his cello
and then everyone started
doing leave his apartment?
Yep.
And then everybody with an instrument came out and started playing with him. And people came out on their balconies to sit. They had a concert. And
right there.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
One of the things I created, what I do every morning is I get up and I go, all right, so there's some limitations. What can I create anyway? And I had this idea to do this short horror film just as a love gift to our fans. So I got 4 other horror icons together. I called my daughter. She and her friend wrote a great script. They co-directed it. We all shot it in our own homes, and it's just fabulous. It's a great, fun little piece. Everybody can see it if you go to Bloody Disgusting's YouTube channel. You can see it there. It's called Stay Home, and it's a takeoff on, you're safer if you stay home with COVID. Well,
yeah.
not so much in a horror film.
Not in the horror movie industry. We're at our 40-minute mark. So did you want to keep going, or did you want to go ahead and call it because you got to go eat dinner, I believe?
I think I've got 10 more minutes if you guys want to go. If not, I'm happy with doing whatever's best for your show, baby. What do you want to know?
Well, how are you personally coping, like with you and your daughter and your friends with COVID right now?
Well, my daughter, fortunately, is quite an aware human being, and she is taking quarantine very seriously. So, we go to the grocery store. She and her guy have a circle of 2 other couples that have all agreed that they're really going to abide by the rules and wear the masks and spray their hands all the time. And And so I'm lucky because I love her and she loves me. And so the four of us, my guy and Gabrielle and Tay, get together for dinner once a week. And we were able to create some stuff together. She's just created a new podcast for her book, Eat, Pray, #FML. And so I just went to her house and did a big podcast about that. So, she's like me. She's a little energizer bunny when it comes to creating, because we both know that if you're creating, you're vital, and the universe is playing with you.
Yeah.
If you're sitting waiting, then the universe waits with you.
The idle hands are the devil's playthings.
That's right, baby. Hey, do you guys know that an eye for an eye is not in the Bible?
Yeah, it's Hammurabi's code.
Yes.
I love you for knowing that.
Yep. Yes.
I got into this big discussion with this Catholic gentleman whose mother raised him incredibly well. I just loved him to death. He was one of my drivers on the set. But I was talking about love and voting for love, and how the good book says, think only on these things, which means scientifically keep your focus on love and then you create more of it. And he said to me, yeah, well, the good book also says an eye for an eye. And the other guy in the car said, yeah, what about that, Dee? And it kind of stopped me. And so I went home and I researched it, and I called one of my friends who majored in religion, and they took me to Hammurabi's code. But I find after talking to many, many people, they actually think that's in the good book.
Yeah, so many people do. There's a lot of like things that are just sayings that people think that are in the Bible itself, but they're not.
I know.
And that's one of the things that confuses me. I'm like, why don't you at least read the book? Just read the book.
Well, and in this day and
couple
age, with
months.
us having Google and everything else, I mean, it takes about 3 seconds to Google it, where you don't even have to look all through the Bible to find it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm old school. I used to go to the library and check out books. I saw, actually, there was a mother who asked me if there was a service like Netflix for books where you could pay and have them ship a book to you, and then when you're done with it, you ship it back. And I said, yes, it's called the library and it's free.
Oh, I love you, dude. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so great. But we're looking for excuses to have excuses instead of really deciding we're going to be love, we're going to live love, we're going to talk love, we're going to share love. And and somebody said to me, well, what about running a country on love? I said, yeah, power through divine love. I'm all for that.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Power through hate, not so much.
I mean, that's one of the things that I've noticed about society these days is that people seem to just kind of scroll around on the internet to look for something to be mad about. And I'm like, all that anger and all that hatred that you're holding inside of you is totally bad for you. You could say it's bad for your soul. You could say it's bad for your energy. It's bad for your karma. However you want to put it.
It's going to be
just bad for your health.
Too.
It's just bad for your health.
Yeah. Mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, it's bad for you. Nobody else goes down because you're pissed off at them.
Exactly.
But your whole energy pattern is affected.
Well, it's kind of you kind of are what you create. If you're putting negativity out in the universe, that's what you're surrounding your body with.
That's right. That's
the
signal that you're sending out, and whatever signal you send out, the universe matches and sends it back to you.
You were on My Name is Earl.
Yeah. I have recurring on My Name is Earl.
Yep.
One of the nicest shows I've done recently is NCIS with Mark Harmon.
Oh, one of the sexiest men alive.
Oh, and so sweet and so nice and so kind. And he lives all the values that we're talking about.
That's awesome. I've never met him. I have met Polly before, about 2 or 3 times, and she's very, very nice. I don't think she's on the show anymore.
She's not.
But
I haven't met her, but I sure did have a good time on that show.
that's really cool. I haven't seen it in a while because I haven't had actual time to watch any television, probably. I mean, for being locked down, this is the busiest I've been.
Oh my God, I so agree with you. I get up every day and I go, well, wow, I have a lot of time today. And then 6 o'clock comes and I've been busy every single solitary minute. Well, I am writing my 6th book, and I'm 3/4 of the way through it. And I'm really excited because it's a primer for creation.
Awesome. So it's
And-
like its own way of being its own muse.
Yeah, actually, I just sit down and open up my channel and it kind of writes itself. But it's pretty amazing how one chapter is built on another, it's built on another, it's built on another, and it's really become a primer for creation, for how to create your life.
That sounds great. What's it called, or does it have a title yet?
Well, right now, the working title, this is how I see it. It says Reborn, and then the re is crossed out.
Oh, nice. I
And
like
then
that.
and then underneath it, something like a complete guide in the creation process or something like that.
Yeah, it'll all work itself out. The publisher will decide.
Well, I may be the publisher, so.
Oh, well,
Oh,
there you
you'll
go.
decide. There you go.
Then you make your own decisions.
You
When you
know,
yeah.
when it gets to all this healing stuff, they want you to change a lot of stuff. And I've got to be true to the information that's come in for me. So we'll see. Let's just envision a publisher that gets it and loves it and wants to put it out exactly the way it's written.
That would be fantastic. I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to give us a heads up and we'll have to have you back on, when you actually launch it.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you.
That would be great. I'm an avid reader. I read like about 1 book a week.
Yeah.
So
That's what I do. I don't.
Have
I'm not
you
a
read
TV person?
Dawson Church's Mind to Matter?
I have not.
Oh my God. You
Yeah,
guys both, you're
Write it down.
prime readers for that. Prime audience.
I just wrote that down. I will check that out.
Mind to Matter. It's one of my Bibles now. It's really phenomenal.
I will probably order that this week.
Yeah, I wrote it down too. Mind to Matter, but Dawson.
Well, I do know our time is up, but
I've got a 5 o'clock private session, or I would hang with you longer, guys. It's been so much fun.
No, I do appreciate it. So thank you very much.
You bet, and be well and be safe, be happy, and everybody go live love, will you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, honey. Bye-bye.
Take care.
The Reckoning Hour is produced by Reckoning Productions LLC with your hosts, Johnny Reed, Wayne Weissenat, Max DeVille, and Emmanuel Jimenez. Produced by Max DeVille, voice talents, Raven Reed.